Hello world, welcome back to the stream. It's been a while and I apologize for that. It's been about a little over a week since the last stream, and not due to my lack of trying, but just due to life kind of getting in the way, and sometimes it's tough to find a block of time, undisturbed time, that's an hour or two, that would allow me to really dive into the code for something more than a superficial pass at some feature. So I have a couple of hours today, so hopefully we'll be able to make some progress on our game. To refresh everyone's memory where we are currently in the game, we completed our map generation and our field of view code, so we can explore our dungeon and give our player a kind of a cone of vision, or it's a circle, a sphere of vision, I guess, a radius of sight around him or her. And then last stream, we started our work on adding NPCs or monsters to the game. You can see one here. There's our little G. We didn't name it. It could be a goblin, it could be a ghoul, it could be a gnome. Right now it's just the letter G because we haven't really defined our monsters yet. But what we did is we got them showing up in the game, and then we got them moving around in the game independently. And right now, that movement algorithm is basically pick a random direction and move one spot in that direction each time the player moves, which is a really dumb algorithm, but it got us started. And today we're going to be continuing down the path of, down the path, you see what I did there? Down the path of giving our monsters a bit more smarts in how they move. There's our S monster. This could be a snake, could be a sniglet, I don't know. There's our K monster. Could be kobold, could be a guy named Keith, who knows. Alright, so that is where our game is at right now. So we're going to be working on building out some monster smarts. And then the way that we're going to do that is we're going to work on something called a Dijkstra map that will basically... hey there, I still can't say, is it XZC? I need to come up with a nickname for you. How's it going again? Is it 9 direction for the monsters or only 4? Right now it's only 4. Because the player can only move in 4 directions, so I thought that would be fair that the monsters have the same restriction. However, when we implement our Dijkstra maps and movement based on that, we can still restrict it to the 4 directions, which I think is fair. So the monsters should have the same restrictions that the player does. If we decide to expand the player abilities to move in 8 directions, then we'll do the same for monsters. Right? Keep the playing field fair. So yeah, we're going to be working on something called Dijkstra maps, which is a way of calculating for each cell in the map, kind of calculating how valuable that cell is to a particular AI. And it's a pretty simple algorithm, yet it's super effective, and it can be used in a bunch of different ways for many different things. We're going to use it initially for pathfinding. So we'll be defining a target for our monster, which initially will probably just be the player will be the target. And the Dijkstra map will allow us to have the monster move efficiently towards the player. But we can also, flip it and make it so that the player is an undesirable thing, like if the monster's hurt or whatever and wants to run away, the Dijkstra map can be kind of inverted, and we can use it to find an optimal path away from something. So let's jump into the code. One thing I wanted to do that I realized that we had forgotten, or I had forgotten, when we were doing our initial game loop, we just kind of threw it together to get it going. But what we didn't do is add a limit for our frame rate, or to basically introduce some sort of timing mechanism into the game loop, because right now it will just loop as fast as the processor will allow, which is not really, for now it's fine because our game is turn-based and we kind of control when the game state is updated. But later on, what about if 2 monsters come together, then 3 monsters are the result, the third being a mix of the other two's color? Well, that's an interesting idea. We can certainly explore that. Some kind of merging of monsters, especially if we have some kind of like ooze creature. We could have 2 of them combine into a super ooze, or they could shapeshift into something. That's a good idea. I'll have to make a note of that. That's a good one. When we start defining monsters, I will definitely be asking the audience for some help, and that definitely sounds like an appealing thing to have. That would be cool. So back to the timing loop. Right now, it's not super critical, but I want to do it for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to just have the processor pegged at 100% because it's just spending 100% of the time looping. And then the other thing is later on when we want to introduce the concept of animation, or things that happen in between player movement turns, we're going to definitely want a way to lock that into a strict form of timing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to there's like a little bug there. Okay, is introduce a limiting factor into our game loop. And so I think I'm just going to put it up here. We'll define a limit. We'll just call it FPS limit, frames per second limit. Right now we'll do. I mean, this is not a super 3D crazy game that needs a ton of updates per second. So we might be able to just get away with like something like 20. Let's just do that. But again, once we set up the mechanism to control the frame rate, we can tinker with the value. We can raise it, lower it, however we want. All right, so let's head down into our game loop. And before we enter our game loop, we're going to want to set up some timing mechanisms. So what we're going to want to do, let's write the code. Let's jump down to the bottom of the loop, because what we're going to... this is render screen. Okay, so after render screen, that's the current bottom of our game loop. So what we'll do is we will limit our FPS. And so there's an SDL. Remember, we're using SDL2. SDL defines a helpful method called getTicks that will allow us to get a very precise measurement of time. I think it's in either milliseconds or microseconds, or it may even be in like CPU clock ticks. I don't remember exactly what resolution it is, but I think it's milliseconds. So we're going to use that to measure let's head it back up to the top of the game loop and we'll do some setup. So we're going to want, yeah, I think it's milliseconds. Let's see. I'll look at it. Milliseconds. Yes, that's what it is. Okay, so what we're going to want before we enter our loop is we're going to want to define some stuff. We're going to want a we're going to want to get a measurement of when the frame starts, like what point in time the frame starts, and then we want to, so basically we'll get ticks at the very top of the loop, and then we'll get ticks at the bottom of the loop. And then we will compare that to our expected time per frame. And if the time elapsed is less than the expected time, then we will put the CPU to sleep for the difference. So what we need is a delay time, which would be the expected time per frame. So let's do time per frame. And it is milliseconds, so it's going to be our expected time per frame is going to be 1,000 divided by our FPS limit. Is the game eventually going to have its own loop individual of human movement? Yes. I think that I will use that for at least one thing. I don't know if you guys have ever played the game Rogue. It's a classic roguelike implementation, and one of the things that I like about it so much is it's got animated environment. I guess that's how I describe it. What Brian Walker, the developer, does is he kind of, depending on what type of environment the player is in, he will animate. Like if the player's looking at water or is near water, then in between player movement, there's a constant cycling of colors that gives the water the illusion of like shimmering. And then there are effects like fire in the game, and the fire will cycle through oranges and reds, and it looks, I mean, it's visually very appealing. So I think I would like to do something like that constantly while the player is, whether the player is moving or not. I would want to have some form of animation of the environment. And so I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I would want to do. I'm sure that there's something else as we go along that I would want to do in between player moves. I'm not thinking of any right off the top of my head, but I'm sure we'll find some. So again, that's why I'm implementing the limit. The other thing is it's also just nice not to peg your CPU looping constantly, because it is an ASCII-based roguelike. We don't need 60 frames per second refresh. There's just not that much going on the screen. Okay, so what did we do? We defined our time per frame, and then we have variables for frame start and I'm going to call this elapsed time because that makes more sense. Elapsed time. And so right at the top of the loop, what we're going to want to do is get the frame start, right? And that's going to be SDL get ticks. I don't think it takes any parameters. Let me just verify that. I got the docs. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't take any parameters. It's super easy. And then once we get down to the bottom of our loop, we are going to want to grab our elapsed time, right? And then we're going to want to compare the elapsed time to our oops, I got a typo there. So what we'll do is our spare time, we'll define something called our sleep time will equal our elapsed time, and we're going to subtract our frame start. And then what we're going to want to do is subtract this value from our framed, what did we call it, framed? Time per frame. Oh my goodness, I've been coding in Swift all week, so I'm forgetting my semicolons. Alright, I've got semicolons there. Alright. It takes a little while to context switch between languages. Another shot of coffee might fix that. We'll see. Okay. So we've got... we determine our sleep time by subtracting our time per... our elapsed time, yeah. Actually, we don't even need elapsed time here. This is kind of a waste of a variable. I can do this. Sleep time is going to be... we can just grab the current time. So it'll be the current time minus the frame start, and then we subtract that from time per frame. And if we end up with a positive number, then we're going to want to sleep, right? So if sleep time is greater than 0, we're going to call another SDL function that goes hand in hand, where it's SDL delay. And this takes the parameter of sleep, the time we want to sleep for. And again, I believe that's in seconds. So I'm going to get rid of this variable. We don't need it anymore. And I think that will be sufficient for limiting our frame rate. So I'm just going to build real quick. And run, and it's... oh, we've got an issue because it's not moving. So maybe it's asleep. And we're not responding. Yeah, it's just gone to sleep. What did I miss? Our sleep time is going to be our time per frame. Hit ticks minus the frame start. And only if our sleep time... oh, this is never going to be less than... oh, that's the problem. I'm using an unsigned. That's stupid. So I think what happened is we may have actually exceeded our time per frame. And so we went negative, which if we're using an unsigned, it probably turned into a super large positive number. I gotta stop using unsigned unless I absolutely need it, because that's bitten me in the butt a bunch of times. So it's just... Let's see if we can kill this guy. Alright. Oh, sorry. So I was actually hiding the code from you. So what I did is I changed this. Sleep time was an unsigned int. What we really want is a signed int because we want to be able to capture when things are negative, because we're even testing if it's greater than 0. So a negative integer, when stored in an unsigned int, becomes like a giant positive integer, which we're probably sleeping for some number of years. So let's save this and try it again. See if we can. Ah, better. Okay. And I'm not gonna. There's our kobold or our friend Keith or whatever. I am not going to throw that into Visual Studio just yet. Maybe I'll remember later when we go in there to check and just make sure that the CPUs look reasonable. Their utilization looks reasonable. But I think for now, let's just move on to work the to-do list. So what I started to do off-stream is build out the concept of a dungeon level, because what we're going to need is a way to kind of persist information about a level. So we're going to need to persist it so that when the player moves from one level to another, we don't lose information about the previous level, because I'd like the player to be able to go downstairs, see the level, go back upstairs. It would be the same level that they were on instead of generating a new level, because that doesn't make any sense. That some roguelikes actually work that way. They don't have any memory of previously visited levels. Maybe they just don't let you go back upstairs, but I'd like to remember where we've been. And the other thing that we need is I need to remember where we've placed our walls and corridors. To generate the Dijkstra map, we need to know what spaces are movable and which spaces are not. So we're going to use that. So I started to put together a dungeon level struct. Right now it just has map walls. So what we're going to want to do is when we generate our map, which is generate. Nope. Oh, it's in my... Okay, maybe level in it. That's where we want to put it. So we generate our map. And right now it's currently stored in this global variable called mapCells, which I'd like to basically replace that with... Let's do that right now. I'd like to replace... Where is our maps? I think it's even in our maps. Yeah, this is just not... I'm going to grab this, take it out of our map cells. And I'm going to level init. I'm going to put it here, so it's not a global. I'm just thinking about I'm thinking about lifetime of the object in memory. So when it's global, we know that it's in memory for the entire time. So what we want to do is in level init, when we generate our map, we want that to live, to continue living in memory even after we assign it to our dungeon level object. So down here, we're going to have some kind of dungeon level. Create dungeon level object and store. So we will have like some dungeon level we'll do a new dungeon level. It'll probably be like malloc. Maybe we'll do it as a game object. Let me think on that a little bit. And then assign level dot what was it? Map walls. Map walls is going to be equal to our map cells. I guess I could even call it map walls. Makes a little bit more sense. And then just get rid of this. And then continue moving on through our monster creation right here, which is hard-coded from last time. We will eventually remove that hard coding once we get a little further down the road. So, as I was saying, I think I want mapCells to be persistent or to live on in memory outside of this function where it's declared. So we're going to want to declare that on the heap. And because I've been away from C for a week, the rusty part of my brain has forgotten how to, let's see, for a two-dimensional array, how do we want to declare that on the heap? I'm trying to think where else we do that. I think we do it actually in some of our screen code. Oops. There's our console init. So I just do this as a I guess I could do that. So it's declared as a pointer. Pixel's declared as a pointer. Yeah. So I could do something like this. And I want to set everything, I guess initially to, so we'll do map width times map height. it's going to be a fairly decently sized refactor as we change this from a statically declared two-dimensional array to a pointer that points to a two-dimensional array. So, and also remove it from the global scope and put it into local scope. So instead of just calling map generate, we're now going to have to pass our map to it, which is fine, but it's just I just want to look here and see. Every time we're going to need to do how can I pass this as... I don't know that I really want to pass it as a pointer, because that's just... then I gotta do pointer math every time I want to access. Let's see. Where else am I passing? I'm passing a two-dimensional array somewhere else, and I don't remember where. It's not a segment to. I feel like somewhere I'm passing. How's everyone doing this morning? Or this afternoon, depending on, I guess, where you are in the world. Where? Oh, it's in my field of view, I believe. But I'm passing. Yeah, there it is. So this is how we're passing the two-dimensional array to our field of view calculation. But again, that's a global. So I still want to treat it like an array, though. I don't want to have to update all that code. So let's see. So I can pass it as, but then it's an array. The alternative is I can just declare it as an array on the stack, pass that around, and then copy it into permanent storage, which may at this point be easier. Let's see. Hit up the old interwebs for, let's see, 2D array to pointer. Just look at our options here. This is a 2D arrays. And we want to make a pointer. To achieve this, we can do that, right? Because the first one devolves into a pointer. So maybe if we a type def, that would interesting. This is a C++ answer, which is not necessarily relevant. So explicitly create a pointer to a 2D array. Semantics are here, but this doesn't talk about where the memory is allocated, though. It just talks about how to point to it. So I think this example assumes that it's allocated on the stack. Maybe my question needs to be clarified. So 2D array to this is exactly what I want. Allocate array of type. So you've got the malloc here. Oh, that's exactly what I want right there. And the parentheses around star or make it a pointer to an array and not an array of pointers. Perfect. All right. So I want that. Let me just grab a second. Whoa. where am I? Here's my allocation. So I want a bool, and I want to call it mapCells, and then I want this to be the map height, because it needs, and this is going to be width times map height, size of bool.
Anywhere you go, I'll be right there. Anywhere you go.
And I think that's actually how I want to declare it in my dungeon level up here. Can't you type def a type for your 2-dimensional? Yes, yeah. Somebody suggested that it be type def, but this actually solves. This actually solves the problem. So I think I'm good. I think. All right. So heading back to. Level init. We're declaring and allocating a 2-dimensional array of Boolean values to act as our mapCells. We can then pass that to our map generate function because we're gonna need to pass it now. So if we jump into map generate, I guess it's the same. Or is it just so when I pass it? Do the same mapCells and then call it map height. So theoretically that shouldn't require any changes to the code within this function because the function should the array access should still look as it was before. We will build shortly and verify that that's the case, but I think we're going to have some problems. I need to look for usage of this mapCells in other places, like out here, because I'm not sure that. Okay, it's not in that. It's definitely. I just want to verify other usages of it, make sure that it's in scope for those usages. So level init, that's where we are. Our struct, and then so we're going to need to pass it around because level get open point assumes that it's global. We'll need to fix that. Is that the only? Wow, is that the only place? so we'll just borrow this, and we're going to pass it into this. And then we'll need to figure out where this is called from. Alright, easy enough. Hey, Mr. Fourth Dimension, how's it going? It's coming along. We are working right now on getting... well, right now I'm preparing our level information to be not at the global scope, so that we can use it, we can feed it to our targeting and movement algorithm for our monsters. We're gonna make them a bit smarter. Right now they move around randomly, so we're gonna implement something called a Dijkstra map to do our pathfinding and targeting. But there's a bit of cleanup from previous shortcuts that needs to happen first. But 4Coder looks really good, man. It's coming along quite a bit. I watched Casey use it on stream last night. It's looking really good. I need to convert to using it over on stream some point, but I need to. I'm just lazy and don't want to mess with configs at this point, but I'm hoping to do that soon. All right, so I don't think we're using mapCells anywhere else. Let's just check. Got it. So map generate, we're already passing it there. Alright, carve hallway, we're gonna need to send it to. Ditto for carve hallway. Alright, I think that might be everything. Oh yes, so now we need to find all those places where these guys are used. So, carve hallway. Carve room. Yeah, I should probably type dev something. I could just call it like map. mapCells or something. For now, I want to make sure that I've got the syntax right, make sure that everything is that it's visible to everything that it needs to be, and then we can go about cleaning stuff up. So I need to then pass stuff to so it needs to go here too. Carve segments so that I can pass it. Type bool map column. Pass around the pointer to that. I don't know, we'll have to play with it. Because one thing, yeah. Alright, so we did map carve segments. We're going to pass that here. Scan through here and see what else we have. In our map. Let's see.
Dreaming of the world she used to know so long ago.
Functions. Find mode stuck. Hey Bonozo, how's it going, man? Is that a look of amazement that I'm streaming? Yes, it's been over a week. So, as I was saying at the beginning, it's sometimes tough to find a block of an hour or two where you can actually get into a problem and be able to get focused enough to achieve or produce meaningful work. I got the house to myself this morning, at least for a couple of hours, so I'm gonna dive in. Let's see, it looks like I've got a syntax error. Release 210. Oh, where did my parens go? Need my semicolon. That's it. I was saying it before. I've been coding in Swift all week where semicolons are not required, so it's a context shift to get back into C mode. Yeah, I mean, programming is one of those things that if you can't really do it in 15-minute chunks. It doesn't lend itself to very good code. You really need to be able to sit for, at least a half an hour, preferably an hour or two, depending on the difficulty of the problem or the chunk of work you need to get done. 15 minutes at a time is not going to cut it. Okay, so where are we? I'm just going through some build errors here. 2, 6, 7. Oh, got Yep, too many. goes away. Goes like that. And then I need one, so I'm missing 289, fine, 289. Did I need to send? Ah, okay, so I need to send that. I just missed these calls. Alright, we're building. Let's see if things explode. Nope, looks like we survived this one. We survived this refactor. Okay, good. Yeah, so for those of you that have joined the stream recently, this is the current state of the game. We've generated our map, and we've started putting these monsters in. Right now, we've just hard-coded 3 of them to be somewhere randomly placed in the map, and they're super smart AI, which says pick a direction in one of 4 directions, and if you can move in that direction, then move 1 space in that direction. So it's super smart. These are fierce, super smart monsters. Beware. But we've got our field of vision. Pretty pleased with how that came out. And there's our last one. There's our last monster. Okay. So, what is next? Now that we have removed our map cells from the global scope, we can now, I built this, I'm just going to call it map walls. And starting to flesh out this struct for capturing the representation of a dungeon level. I do have a global variable in our world state that represents, it points to the current level. So now when we go back to our level init, there we go, okay. We're generating our map cells on the heap so that they outlive the function. And then generating the map, and so now we need to come back down here to our dungeon level code. We will do we'll malloc our dungeon level, and then we can assign level map walls is our map cells, and level init, do we then want to, I think we want to actually return that from our function now. That would be useful. What calls this? I think it's in here. So if we had something like this, dungeon level, Or we could even do, we could just skip right to the, what did I call it? Is it current level? Current level without a, yep. So we got our level here, blah, 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 and then at the bottom of this function we'll return our level. Yeah, I don't know how many of you guys watch Handmade Hero. Streams usually 5 nights a week, and is building a game completely from scratch in C. He was talking this past week. They had an awesome chat about imposter syndrome, and then there was some other topics that he covered, including one about focus. And he talked about his regular work habits when he's not streaming. He said that basically in his office there is no internet, which is really an interesting and I'm kind of in awe and respect of it way of approaching work. It really allows you to focus because the internet is a horrible distraction. And I know that I'm susceptible to plunging down an internet rabbit hole instead of, taking the extra time to really reason out a problem. If the internet is there, then it's too easy to just kind of take the shortcut and Google the answer. So I found it very interesting to hear that he has no internet access at all. He does all of his research and stuff off before going to the office, and kind of saves stuff offline if he needs reference material. And then when he's programming, it's just no distractions, which. I have to say, I would like to maybe try that sometime, because just to measure how much more productive you can be, or perhaps how much better the code could be, because there's a lot of bad habits and bad code out on the internet that works but maybe isn't optimal, and so it'd be interesting to see. With this project, somewhat, I'm trying not to borrow other bits of code. For the most part, I'd like to figure out, the pseudocode for algorithms and that sort of thing. That's okay, but I'm trying to work through a lot of this myself. And for language syntax and that sort of thing, I think that the internet is perfectly reasonable for refreshing your memory, or grabbing. I've got a whole bookshelf here just for quick reference. But I thought that just the idea that a programmer these days working in complete isolation almost without the internet, it's I strive to achieve that freedom a bit, because it must be, first of all, it must take a lot of discipline. I don't know if I have the discipline for that, but you want to get to the point where you don't need to look things up anymore? Having no internet while working sounds amazing. Yeah, I mean, you'd get so much done. And I've got my bookshelf of C stuff. I got my C Pocket reference. I've got my algorithm books here. So I think having those is fine, because it's tough to keep everything in your head. You're gonna forget stuff, and especially like right now, my day job, I do Swift programming for iOS, and I do Objective C, and I do Java, and trying to keep all of that stuff in your head, all of the syntax specifics is it's a bit much sometimes. So. But that brings me to, speaking of books, I picked up a new book this week. I got the Algorithm Design Manual. I think someone on Stack Overflow or something posted a link with a bunch of good algorithm books, and this one seemed like a good intro. Like it goes deep, or it doesn't go as deep as some of the others, but it's a good overview for just seeing what's out there, because I think knowing about different algorithms and knowing about different structures, data structures, is half the battle. You can't solve a problem effectively unless you kind of know the landscape of tools that are available for you. And every algorithm and every data structure out there that it could potentially be a tool for solving an algorithm, for solving a problem. Welcome, N Blaisdell. I haven't seen you on stream before, I don't think. Welcome to the stream. All right, where I went off on some major tangent there. So where are we? Okay, so we just did. We're returning our dungeon level from our level init, just to kind of make that a bit cleaner. All right. So up next, where's my to-do list? Alright, so I think we may actually be to the point where we want to build our Dijkstra map. Okay. So, Dijkstra maps. Let me just give you a quick intro as to what those are. Let me pull something up here. This one right here. Okay, so if you are not familiar with the world of roguelikes and roguelike development, there are a couple sites that are super helpful and are good communities for roguelike developers. One of them is called Rogue Basin, and then the other is the Roguelike Dev subreddit. Both of those are good congregation points for roguelike developers, and they share tips and tricks and share progress on the development of their own projects. There's like a Friday FAQ. I think it's Friday FAQ, where there's a question posed to the community and everybody kind of answers it in their with how they've solved a particular implementation problem in their own code. So it's just both of these sites are a great resource for roguelike development specifically, but game development in general as well. So Rogue Basin, a while back, Brian Walker, the developer of Brogue, which is one of my favorite roguelikes, wrote up this article, The Incredible Power of Dijkstra Maps. And so I am going to implement Dijkstra Maps to do some pathfinding and give the hint of intelligence for our monsters. Just hopped on Twitch and realized there's a programming section. Yes, there is a programming section. There's also, there's within Creative, there are two programming sections that I know of. One is the programming subsection, and then there's also game dev subsection. So, not not interested in game development either, but I love to absorb programming as much as I can. So yeah, there's the game dev stream, and then there's the game dev section, and then there's programming section. And Twitch actually recently added a programming channel. So if you go to twitch.tv/programming, they will stream. I think mostly since it debuted about a month ago now, they've been replaying streams from various development conferences. So they did RubyConf a while back. They did a Go conference, and they've also been on some evenings. They've been streaming lectures from MIT. What's his name? Sussman, the guy that wrote Interpretation and Structure of Programs. The two guys, they've been streaming those lectures, which is interesting and also kind of hilarious because I think those lectures are from the 80s or early 90s. So just the technical quality of the video and the outfits or the clothes, it's like old school. It's great. But I think if you go to twitch.tv/programming, they have I don't know if they've posted. They haven't been great about keeping an up-to-date schedule of programming, but yeah, I mean, drop in from time to time. They do some interesting streams there, and I'm glad that Twitch has branched out from just streaming video games. I spend most of my time now, honestly, in the creative section, because I really want to support that, and I want to see more streamers streaming things other than game playing. I like watching gamers stream as well, but I really enjoy the creative section. All right, so back to Dijkstra Maps. The implementation. So you can read through this article if you're interested in some of the applications for Dijkstra Maps. It's on Rogue Basin. It's called The Incredible Power of Dijkstra Maps. So it's a quick read. All right, so where do we want to put this? I guess we can put it in our map code. What kind of business apps do you develop? Because and that's what I do for my day job as well. I'm a mobile application developer. I'm doing business apps. Okay, so the representation of a Dijkstra map, it's going to be a two-dimensional array of integers, and we'll make it signed integers because they can go negative. And so it'll be. Let's see, where do we want to put these? Well, let's figure out first, before we go into any implementation details, how we want to call our code. Because that'll help us shape our API. I like to write the usage code first, and then stub out functions. So we're going to use the Dijkstra map to inform the movement of our monsters. So I guess the first thing to do would be to figure out where I put the code that moves our monsters. Here we go. So I think that we want the maps to be, we're going to use them during movement, but we also may want to use them for other things. So I don't think that making them part of our movement component, it makes sense. They're kind of a shared resource. So what I mean by that is that a Dijkstra map can be used by several monsters, so making it a component of each monster's movement, or making it a property of each monster's movement component, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We can have a bunch of monsters use the same Dijkstra map to inform their movements. And we're going to want to update those. What point do we want to generate the Dijkstra map? If we initially assume that the target is going to be our player, then we can update it on every player move, which might be a good assumption just at the very beginning, and then allow us to implement it, and then when we decide that other targets will factor into the Dijkstra map, we can change that. So if our player moved, we already have a flag for that here. We could do, before our movement update, we could add our generation here. Trying to think at what level we want to save our maps at, though. Where's our game state? Initially, let's do a list. No. Do I-32. It's going to be the same as our I don't even know what we want to call this. I guess initially we'll just call it a movement map. We could call it a target map. And we'll just have one at this point, just for initial implementation to make sure that we got everything working. And so what we'll do here is we will do target Generate. Every time the player moves, we'll update it because we're going to just make the initial assumption that the player is the target. And so we'll generate our target map. The one thing that we need to do I'm going to make a note here just while I'm thinking about, while I'm looking at this code. We need a level cleanup in addition to a level init. We're going to need a level cleanup function because we're now storing dynamically allocated memory in our level structure. But I don't want to write that right now. We'll do that later. Okay. So I think what I'll do for now is just allocate the memory for that here. I don't think that's like really the best place for it, but maybe I'll do it. All right. Let's just do it here. So if we're going to generate a target map, we need to clean up. Yeah. Ah, okay, so that'll be null, and then we'll do, where's my world state? We're going to need to free our memory if and then we'll generate the target map. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll allocate it in here for now. Just happened. This is weird. Why is this here? Oh, I guess there's... Wait, what? Do I have two? Oh, I guess I already started. That's right. On stream, or off of stream, I did a little bit of work to define this, and apparently it's been so long I forgot. This is why gaps of more than a day or two away from a project lead to inefficiencies. So yeah, we have this concept of defining a target point. And then we want to send a list of those target points to our map generation. Yes. I like that. So I'm going to get rid of this. It's like finding money in a pocket of an old coat. Look at that. Just gonna leave this in the movement code, I guess, for now. So this takes a list of target points. So what we'll do is we're going to want to define a target point before we generate our target map.
If life is a movie, it's always so boring. Where is the story? I hope it gets better with time.
Hey, is it Gel Mega? You've seen my series on YouTube. Well, yeah, I post the archive streams to YouTube, so you can watch them there if you want to see some of the back streams. What I have already is we've generated a map and we've placed our hero in the map and can move them around, and we have a field of view or field of vision implementation that allows them to see a limited portion of the map as they're exploring, as if they held a torch, and there is a radius of sight that around them. And then recently we've been working on adding monsters to our dungeon, and right now we just have 3 hard-coded monsters that wander around aimlessly with no purpose. And so now we're trying to give them some purpose by defining. The first step is to figure out a smarter way to move towards a target, and then the next step is once we have them with the ability to move to a target, we need to implement the smarts for defining what the target should be. And so I've got this target point here that I put together. It will have a point on the map that is their destination target, or it defines a target, and then it'll have a weight. And so the thinking there is that at some point I want to implement multiple target support, because Dijkstra maps can support defining multiple goals, and then by having allowing that weight to go negative or be positive, allows us to define whether a particular point on that map is a desirable goal or if it's something that is to be avoided. I'm also working on a roguelike, and I switched a bit between C++ and C#, and you're using C# right now. That's cool. That's cool. Do you so you're working on a roguelike? Are you doing a classic ASCII roguelike like this, or are you doing like more of a tile base with graphics, or are you doing a less traditional roguelike but borrowing properties of roguelikes, such as permadeath or procedural generation? Oh, you're doing ASCII? Cool. So yeah, that's cool. We can. Sounds like what we're doing is similar. So you said you happened across the YouTube series. If you want to hit the follow button on Twitch here, you can be notified next time I go live. So you can see the real-time stream, which gets you can participate in chat and stuff, which isn't part of the YouTube streams. Some of your inspiration: Dwarf Fortress, Ultimo, yeah, So if you're familiar with URR, do you know about the Roguelike? What is it? Roguelike Radio, the podcast. Oh, thanks for the follow. Yeah, Ultima Ratio Regum, I think. Yeah, Mark Johnson, the guy that works on URR, he was actually at TwitchCon just a couple weeks ago, and I was hoping to run into him when I was there, but our paths did not cross because I would have liked to have met him just to shake his hand and say thanks for Roguelike Radio, thanks for working on that, and just to shoot the breeze about various things, but our paths unfortunately did not cross. It was a lot busier than I expected at TwitchCon. It was a really good crowd. All right, so generating a target map. What I'd like to do. All right, I'd really like to just get a simple implementation working before I start going down the road of doing multiple goal points. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is allocate memory for our target map. So we said it's I32 map. Let's call it a D map for now. D map for extra map. And it will be we're going to initialize it to our own values, so I can just malloc it for now. Map width times map height times the size of a 32. Yeah, the Roguelike Dev subreddit is, I have lurked there for quite a while. Hopefully I will, once this gets a little bit further down the road, maybe I'll do a sharing Saturday, or I'll jump in on a sharing Saturday and just announce the project. But I've been a bit reluctant to do that just because, I'm still trying to feel my way around C and roguelikes. I didn't realize they had a Discord channel, though. That's kind of cool. All right, so at the very bottom, once we generate our map, we're going to want to set our, what do I call it, target map equal to it. So first thing that we want to do is set up our map values. Hey, Nidagwin. Welcome to the stream. Oh man, I'm thinking about getting I'm just working on the laptop here, but I don't like this keyboard. That's the other thing. In addition to switching between languages between my day job and here, I switch between keyboards, and so my fingers never really know quite where to find the keys. So I've been thinking about getting a mechanical keyboard for use here, but I don't know that I have enough space on my desk for all that stuff. Alright, so what we want to do first is initialize all of our values to some like crazy high value that isn't going to be computed as part of our run through the algorithm. And then, so let me see if I remember this algorithm properly. The way it works is you define a goal point as the value 0. And if you have multiple goal points, I think you can define them. Not sure how they get. I'm not sure how weighting factors into it, but you basically define your goal points as zeros in the grid, and then you loop through your map and basically work outward from those goal points. And so we're only going to work in the 4 cardinal directions right now, because our player and our monsters can only move up, down, left, right. So what we're going to do is, once we find a goal point in that map, we're going to alter the cells around it if they haven't already been updated. So, like, if our goal point is 0, then the 4 cardinal directions around that point are all going to be set to 1. And so that's our first pass through the map. The second pass through the map, when we hit one of the squares that's a 1, everything that's a cardinal direction from that hasn't already been set to a value, hasn't already been visited, that's going to get incremented to a 2. And basically we're going to loop through that until we've visited every square in the map. So it's going to be while we're going to define, I think, I'm going to set this to true to begin with, and we're going to do while just trying to. So we loop through our map. And so for each square, so if I'm gonna let's see. That's cool. So you're building a roguelike as well. Nidagwin? Is that how you say the name? Yeah, I need to enable links, or I need to add a bot to the stream that will allow me to temporarily grant links, link posting. Sorry about that. It's on my to-do list. So, are you building an ASCII roguelike as well? Alright, let's see what we got going on here. So if our current space is unset, or if it's not unset. I need to... Yeah, Discord. Well, Discord is cool, but that's also potential rabbit hole for productivity. It's good though. Got here.
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand on at the dark embrace.
Roguelike subreddit. Discord channel. Go to off topic. Add role developer. Yeah, I'll have to check that out as well. Alright, so we're going to loop through our map. And so if we find a just a point of order, I need to time box this, so I've only got about 10 more minutes on stream. So we may have to start the Dijkstra map algorithm and then finish it next stream. Just FYI, folks. So what we want to do is loop through the map, and if we come across an unset, let's see, we could do it a couple ways. We could loop until we find an unset and look at the stuff around it. Or we could loop until we find something that's set and then modify the stuff around it. Oh yeah, Cogmind is awesome. Josh, I think he pronounces it Josh G. He's the mod in Discord channel, but he's always on Roguelike Dev, the subreddit. He's a fountain of information. Super helpful, and his game Cogmind, if you haven't seen it, is amazing. You should go buy it right now, because it's the I like Brogue's art aesthetic with the ASCII color recycling and that sort of thing. Like, Rogue is a beautiful example of a roguelike in ASCII, and Cogmind is another great example of a beautiful ASCII game. So if folks haven't seen Cogmind yet, I suggest you Google it and check it out. It's pretty cool. And he's got a trailer up now, so if that doesn't make you want to buy the game, I don't know what will. So I guess what we could do is, if it's unset, then we maybe update. I think it being, in terms of efficiency, Yeah, he's a friendly guy. I agree. Can't go to you go to college, huh? So that means you got yeah, I get it. Cash strapped. Um, so I guess now we can just brute force it and check all four cardinal directions. And update them if so we would update a cell if one of two things was the case. If it was unset, so if, for example, dmap r+1 c is unset, or if it was if the value that you would write into it would be less than the value it already is set to. And so I wonder if there's a way that we can express that in one test. So if and this let's do this I32 current So we're going to be assigning the cells around our current cell the cell value +1. So we need to see if there's like one little gnat that keeps flying around. So if so this isn't an and, this is an or, because it's either condition. So if the value that or the cell we're examining is unset, or it's set. Oh, we just need the one. Just need the one test, because unset is set to 900 million, you know. So if the value of the cell we're examining is greater than the value we want to assign to it, then we should go ahead and assign that value. What is going on here? Cannot type on this keyboard. Current cell value +1. And then what we're going to want to do is update our changes made, because we did update a cell in this pass. Just remember, that'll be our test to see if... So there's one more, there's one more condition that we need to factor into this determination. If the cell that we're looking at is not, if a person can't move there, then we should ignore it. So the first test that we need to do is if can move, right? If that's a passable cell. And I forget what the function signature looks like for that. Oh, it takes a position. I wonder if we could write this in a smarter. Position XY, yep. I think I need to write a different test for this, but so this case is we do need both of these conditions to be true. So first test is that that a creature can move to a given cell position, and then if that's true, we want to test and see if the value of that cell is greater than the value we want to assign to it. And if both of these are true, then we will go ahead and assign that value and mark the changes were made. So, like I said, I've got a hard stop at this point in time, but what we need to do, just make some notes for next stream, check other cardinal directions. And then once we've got this map implementation, we'll put some code in that will overlay it on our map just for QA purposes to test it out. We'll write some code in our renderer that will render the values stored in this target map to the screen with our player at the target point, and see if it's doing the right thing. And then once we determine that it's doing the right thing, we can integrate it in with our monster AI and get them moving more intelligently. But unfortunately, I've run out of time for this particular stream. So if you want to catch me next time I'm streaming, be sure to hit that follow button. I want to thank everyone for watching today. I may, depending on how the rest of the day shakes out, I may be able to get in another stream later on, but I wouldn't count on it. Perhaps tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, then I usually stream evenings between 7 and 9 p.m. Pacific time. So thanks everyone for watching, and thank you for the follows. I appreciate it. I think we made some good progress today, and hopefully next stream we'll be able to complete our Dijkstra map implementation and get those monsters moving around a bit smarter. So again, thanks for watching. Archives on YouTube at the link over there. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter. And if you want to follow along with source code, it's available at GitHub at that link over there. So thanks again for watching, and I will catch you next stream. See ya.